Well, Jeff, thanks for giving us your time today. You're heading into your next fight and time's of the essence for you. How important in those early days was your relationship with Oxmar and Phil Murphy?
Look, it is definitely an intense period for me right now, leading up into the fight, but I'm getting the work done. I met Phil a few years ago, and it's been amazing. The support he's given me, it's really allowed me to kind of really focus a lot more on my boxing.
As the story goes, Phil suddenly turned up in the dressing room on one of your early fights. You were a struggling school teacher then, and Phil, I think unprompted and probably as a surprise to you, said he wanted to get right behind you and make you a world champion. Is that an accurate recount of the story?
Yeah, I can remember Phil meeting up with me, and he knew that life wasn't really easy at that point, and he's jumped on board and decided to be a good helper of mine.
So Phil, why Jeff?
The first time I met Jeff, I was gobsmacked. He's such a beautiful young man, and I mean that sincerely, from my heart. My family has the same belief in him and his family. He never wavers. He's just an example of how all parents would like their son to turn out.
You had that big risk giving Jeff support, not only when he started to kick a few goals in the boxing, you were there in the early stages. Why did you take that risk?
I don't call it a risk. In life, you meet a limited amount of people that are special. And from the get-go, Jeff shook my hand, and he's so special. I have so much faith in him, for him as a person. Not only is he a champion boxer, he's the best in the world, but as a son to his mum and dad, he would have been, without any doubts, and still is, the best in the world. He is.
Thanks, Phil.
You're one of the biggest donors, Phil, in the general community out there. You support sporting groups, the Broncos, you support church groups, you support a whole range of community groups, which has been a signature of Oxmar, but hardly anyone's ever heard of you. Is that by design?
I like to stay low-key. It's not a thing that I do for any praise or acclamation. I do it because out there in this hard, tough world, there's so many hurting and hurting badly. Within 5 minutes of my office at Aspley, there are 7 domestic violence refuges. On the north side of Brisbane, I'd love to see a chaplain in every school, right through Brisbane. A lot of kids go to school hungry because they're a part of a single parent or drug-affected parents or alcohol-affected parents. And going to school without breakfast, there's thousands of kids going through that. And a lot of these kids, when they go to school, they're picked on, they're bullied, they're loners. No one wants to know them. They don't have any friends. Teachers are too busy to devote their time to one single person or 2 single people that are doing it tough. They don't know what happens at home. But if there's a chaplain in a school, they're like a mate, they're a shoulder to cry on, they're a mum or dad to the kids, and they're just a friend. They're somebody to talk to and somebody that's going to listen to them.
Jeff, you'd be able to relate to that because in your book you talk about yourself being bullied at school. It's hard for us to understand that now, given you're a world champion boxer. But to have someone in the community who puts money into chaplaincy services and supports people a little bit down and out, as Phil Murphy's done for years, is that the sort of bond between you two now?
Yeah, it is. We do have a special bond, and it's good that he's doing this chaplaincy program at schools and making sure that kids have someone to talk to. Some days kids feel like they have no one to kind of turn to, and being able to have the chaplaincy at the schools is really good for some of the kids that are really feeling down and out sometimes.
Phil, how would you summarise your relationship with Jeff Horn?
I was talking to his mum one evening, and there's 100,000 words you could probably pick, and I said he's just such a beautiful young man. He's just so innocent. There's no lair in him. He's not big-headed. He's low-key. His voice never wavers. He's set goals for himself and he is passionate about keeping those goals. He's disciplined. He's just a fine, beautiful example of what a young man can be.
And Jeff, from a business association point of view, when someone who's in property knocks on your door, do you have second thoughts? I know you don't about Phil, but it does seem the odd couple, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, but there's sponsors in many different ways out there, and I guess people are always going to buy land, and you need to advertise it somehow. So I think it's great to have property as something that you can advertise through boxing.
So Jeff, I just asked Phil to summarise in one sentence his thoughts about you. What about your thoughts about Phil Murphy and the people at Oxmar?
I think the people at Oxmar and Phil Murphy are kind people, caring, and are very giving. So they're the three words that I can say that the people at Oxmar are like.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
The ride of my life and my family's life and my staff's life, the journey and the ride is unbelievable, mate.
Thanks, mate.